And we're live.
I'll go up there and work them buttons.
Right now I have to stop saying.
It's a really good thing we have that sounder because Luds literally swore a half a second before John played that drop. That's what our show is. It's not. But we're going to talk about the playoffs. The season is over. The playoffs are coming up in a couple of days, Saturday. We're all here, and we've got to break down the Stars, injury problems, the Avs, big names coming back, and let's look at those other series as well a little bit later on the show. This is the DLLS Stars Podcast. We're starting right now.
Get ready, boys.
Oh, okay. We're doing this on permanent. Okay, I get it.
It is Thursday.
Okay.
It is April 17th. This is the DLLS Stars Podcast.
It's a thing.
As we
He's not even on the camera
actually don't have Ben on the camera, just the top of his dome. There he is. What happened, Sam? Can you see from where you're seated what's going on with Craig Ludwig over there?
It's
and our
alcohol
boss?
abuse.
I don't know if
That's
it
what
was the
it's called.
microphone or his hand, but he smacked that cup right off the table again.
The poor
Okay, Ben.
beverage.
They got. I think they all have the idea.
Daily reference.
Oh, and he got some forehead shine as well. Thank you, Ben. I'd like to say the Empire Today flooring in the studio held up
Holds up
extremely
It
well
handles it.
to Luds
handles it.
knocking his beverages. It's not the first time it's happened, and they look sparkling still. And we will hit more on Empire Today a little bit later when Luds gets to talk
Luds
about it.
does it.
Hey, how about that? But this is our Thursday podcast as we get ready for the first round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. John Andersen is our producer. Craig Ludwig, the one who keeps all the beverages inside the containers. Sam Nestler, I'm Owen Newkirk. Thanks for joining us today. And we now know, guys, that the season is over for everybody but the teams playing today. Mostly Eastern Conference. The only Western Conference game is the Kings and the Flames. And the Flames had their hearts torn out of their chest a couple of nights ago by Minnesota. And so we know every playoff bracket. We're going to talk about those a little bit later in the show, but we're going to start with the Stars and the Avalanche because 82 games, and the Dallas Stars finished second in the Central, and they have the, at least for the short time, privilege of being the higher seed and home ice advantage for their first round series with the Avs. And I have to start with not great news. We don't have any updates,
Sweet.
but there is major concern roiling through everybody in Stars country about Jason Robertson's health from last night as he left mid-game in Nashville, what is being called a lower body injury. Sure looked like a knee. We can't be overly speculative, but it didn't look great. And we heard reports that he
It's a knee.
was wearing a brace. Luds,
Got a
do you,
brace on
do you
here.
have hold that up on your ISO if John can get you over there.
See there, Don? That's a.
Right there. Can you see if you turn that? I believe there's a little bit of a Band-Aid over on the
boo-boo's right
Robo
here.
bobblehead.
It's right in this area. Right.
Is it going to help?
I don't know.
The big voodoo guy.
Yeah.
Floods it.
Are you? He and Joe Boo?
Yeah.
That's
Nothing,
St. Louis Blues.
I mean, nothing positive so far. I mean, You're
No.
not going to know anything the day after,
No.
anyways. I mean, he hasn't. And most of the times when things like that happen, if they want to go get an MRI, any of that kind of stuff, they want a couple days for the swelling to go out on if there is any, and that whole routine. So, my guess would be he's not going to be in game one.
I could tell you what Pete's going to tell us tomorrow. You want me to tell you? Day to day.
Oh, of course.
Tomorrow?
Everything.
He could be day to day for one day and then play, or he could be day to day until the Stars play.
You're thinking about
Western
Yanni
Conference
Hakanpää
final.
last year.
It's just-
Yeah.
We're in the part of the year where we'll find out nothing about injuries.
Unless it's severe and long
See, it'd be
term.
nicer if you were Tampa or Florida. You don't play till next week sometime.
Yeah, that's weird, right?
You know what I
Vacation.
mean? Like some teams are going to have 2 games in before they even step on the ice. So,
Yeah.
the more time, the better would be nice. But it is stretched out a little bit. The series is stretched out. So maybe you keep your fingers crossed and maybe it's not as bad as everybody's kind of thinking that it may be. And maybe it's something that he can get back into the lineup.
So
Sooner
we
than
got
later.
the schedule, and the Stars will open up. We knew this pretty much for sure last night, but we got the rest of the game schedule. Game 1 will be this Saturday at 7:30 Central Time, and then it starts to get late because we have 8:30 announced times. We're looking at probably puck drops like we've seen before. This is nothing new in the playoffs. 8:52 second window kind of things, which means nearly a 9 o'clock start in Dallas. It'll be the same temperature or same time in Colorado for games 3 and 4. So it'll be Saturday, Monday in Dallas, the 19th and 21st. And then Wednesday, game 3 in Colorado, Saturday, game 4. That means that there's 2 days off between games 3 and 4. The difference is when you play in Denver, it's mountain time. So it's almost an 8 o'clock start locally for them, which is better than a 9 o'clock. That's a tough one, Luds. I know that guys can adjust their routines and prepare and all that, but having to wait till nearly 9 o'clock is not the normal schedule for guys that have been playing all year.
Yeah, but you know what? You're up all hours of the day, and you get in different times when your flights, and so I don't think they don't find it, especially the playoffs. I mean, you can't sleep the way it is. You're up and you're ready to go. You
still don't sleep.
Yeah, your afternoon routines you try to make them the same, but there's more on the line.
You just move it all up.
Yeah.
You nap just 2 hours later and everything like that.
They may have meals at 1 o'clock in the afternoon versus at noon, or it'll be up to the players.
Yep.
The players are gonna let them know what they'd like to do. And there's guys that'll bring food back to their room anyway. Sometimes I don't know if they do, or go to Whole Foods and get food and stuff like that. But so if you want to grab something to eat, and then generally there's a snack room set up a couple hours before you're going to take off, an hour before you take off, that kind of stuff. So they'll have all that handled. It's really not that big of a deal because they do it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, in one sense, it's better for fans in Dallas because of getting to the games later means rush hour traffic has dissipated a bit. You can leave work and go home, turn around and get back with some time in between. The bad thing is, let's say Monday night, Saturday, no big deal. Monday night, game 2 is going to start at 8:30 Central Time, but really 8:50 something, we think. And that means that on a school night, on a work night, depending on how long that game goes, it can be a really late night. And we've seen some of those, and it happens. But I was fixated on the start times. When I looked as they came out with the whole schedule today, the fact that there are 2 days off between games 3 and 4, and again between games 5 and 6 if necessary, makes this, I saw somebody tweet at me saying this is a schedule for humans. It does feel as though there's chance for rest recovery so we can have the best of both of these teams in this series, not just trying to cram it in the shortest window possible.
Well, that's why when you think about Robo, Miro, that stretch it out and you get through the first round in Miro's case, or maybe he gets that extra day or two in Colorado. We'll see if Landeskog comes back for game 3 or if he's out there for 1 or 2. It gives him time to get back, and so I guess that's the upside for teams when you have injuries. But I mean, the hype is the hype.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, I just think that I think everybody wants the best series available in all series, and so when there are a couple days in between and a player doesn't have enough time and maybe it's just something minor, but you get that extra 24 hours, you get a better player back.
You know what I like too? It feels like, I know the bubble and all the like 1 or 2 years after that was really rushed, right? They were always trying to get it done because we were behind or it started late. Now we're past that, right? And so I think this is what we should be seeing. We should see you don't need a 2-day break 4 times in a series, but having a little bit of a break, usually between travel, which is kind of funny that it's not the first time, is nice. We don't need to rush this anymore. It's the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Let's enjoy it. Let's not feel like, remember teams were playing back-to-backs a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. I just like that it's a little more spread out. Let's enjoy the ride. Let's not make it, okay, that series is over. Let's see if we can get Dallas to play the next night and just forcing everything. Let's get back to regular here.
Tells you about the business. I mean, the concerts and the elephants in town and things like kind of trumps everything. You're gonna tap dance around, what's going on in the buildings.
You laugh, Sam, but he's absolutely right, because when I was in the American Hockey League with Albany, we had to change venues in Philadelphia for our first round series because a circus was in town at the Spectrum, the old building. Lud's played there, I'm sure, many times back when the Flyers' home was the Spectrum. Of course, the new building is across the street, and the Spectrum's been torn down. It's not even there anymore. But back then, 07, 08, We actually played at Wells Fargo Center, which is where the Flyers play, which is weird for an AHL game in the playoffs when there's no season tickets. You have to sell again. So there's lots of fans, but smattering compared to an NHL-sized crowd when the venue that they've played in all year across the street is filled with lions and tigers and elephants and you name it. But that's part of what this schedule is having to deal with is the NBA schedule, the playoffs, and the Mavs won last night, so they're going to have another play-in, I believe, tomorrow. And if that happens, then they could actually make the first round.
You might be the only one in the city that's actually clapping for the Mavs.
And then you have, building conflicts with concerts and other things. Yeah. So it won't be easy. But let's talk a little bit more about Jason Robertson, because I went back and watched Pete's post-game availability. We played it on our post-game show last night, but we didn't have the benefit when we played it of seeing him, the video side of it. So I went and watched it. And I don't know about you guys, but when I watched it, I looked and saw more frustration in the eyes and the emotion of Pete DeBoer than I heard just listening to the audio, because I think what you pick up from that is not necessarily what he said, although he kind of said, we were trying to avoid injury and we didn't do that with the Robertson injury, but you could just sort of feel that he was really down about it, which doesn't bode particularly well, at least to start the series. And how do you think Jason Robertson being out affects the Stars going into this first round against Colorado?
I would sum it as, what else can go wrong? You know what I mean? Like, you're coming off a stretch of games that have been brutal. I don't care how you want to sum it up. Your game's not where it is, and you can blow it off and say, "Oh no, we're just trying to get to the game on Saturday." But that ain't. Again, you can blow it off, but you're going home going, what the hell's going on here? Like, we look disheveled out there. We can't figure out what's going on our zone. We're getting outshot every single game. We're giving up over 32, 33 shots against all the time, high danger chances, all this kind of stuff. And, and as coaches, they're banging their heads against the wall trying to figure out, how do we do this? How do we figure this thing out? And then you put that one on there, and all the conversation comes up. Should you even be playing these guys? Should this guy play? I'm telling you, the guys want to play.
And you can't bench everybody.
Yeah, they want to play. I mean, they want to play. And if maybe it wouldn't be Robo, maybe it'd be, Hintz, or, you don't know how this is going to happen. The only thing that you can really control, and the thing that you actually have to express to your players and be very adamant about in games like that, is play 100%. Like, when you play hard, there's less of a chance getting hurt. If you're going to go through the motions and you kind of you're an easier target, and again, just because it was Nashville and there's nothing on the line, they have jobs on the line. So they're going to play, and they're going to do everything they have to. And so, but again, I just look at it and go, guys want to play the game. They want to. Do you think Robo doesn't want to get another goal? When Hintz wants to get 4 more points? They want to get their game back together personally, and hopefully they're trying to get their game back as a group.
I think I was just going to say what you said. I just joked before about Pete saying day to day and being the lawyer that he is, but what you just said is important, because it's not just some coach. It's Pete, who is never showing emotions. Rarely ever.
Well, he does sometimes, and you could see even the first question, he was irritated about the way his team played and the frustration of dealing with the Robertson injury. And, the other night in Detroit, he was pretty jovial for a team that lost again, because it was, we got through the game without injuries. That's what we're going for. And that wasn't the case in Nashville. And you could see, you're right. It's not that he doesn't show emotion. I think he guards and holds his emotions in a lot, but he does smile and laugh at times. And we occasionally see Pete lash out a little bit. Now, his lash out versus somebody like maybe John Tortorella, not to pick on Torts, are a little different levels of degree.
What was the commercial for a deodorant that said "Never let them see you sweat"? Which one was that?
Goodness,
was it Right Guard or no?
One of those. Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a minute.
Yeah,
but that's Pete.
Never. You had to sniff.
Yeah,
just making sure.
By the way, for those listening later, that was Sam just checking his right armpit to make sure it was okay.
I have it on today. I'm good.
There you go.
See, that's how I think Pete has approached this slide or cave in or whatever you're calling it, is that he comes, we're just trying to get to the Saturday, the game. We got 3 games to go, and we know where we're going to be. We know the opponent we're going to play. I think you're trying not, you're trying to portray there's no panic in me as a head coach. We're gonna be good when we get there. Well, I'm a little different, as you guys know. So
you tend to wear your emotions on your sleeve, Lutz,
yeah, I'm
or
just,
on the floor.
Like change something, do something different,
do something,
do
kick
something
over
different.
the Gatorade cooler and
and that may happen. That stuff may happen in the room. And again, you guys are down there, and I get tired. I mean, I don't even like going down there because you're not going to get the truth out of anybody for the most part, anyways, especially coaches. So, I mean, I don't blame them. I wouldn't be telling you guys anything either. I mean, they want to keep everything in that room. I mean, that's the way they like it, especially now. Like, now nothing comes. Anything that you hear from now on out isn't the truth. Unless it's good stuff. Unless it's like, we got Miro coming back in Game 4. Well, that's good stuff, and they're not gonna blow smoke about that kind of stuff. But the whole keeping you at bay, wondering, is Miro going to be back in this round? Is he going to be back for Game 1 or 3, or where's it going to be? It is what it is.
Lots more about this Robertson injury, Seguin back, the Avalanche, as the DLLS Stars podcast continues.
Yeah, right. First, we're going to talk about game time. Stanley Cup playoffs are almost here. Unless you're Florida and Tampa, then you have another 6 weeks before you start your series. But there's nothing like playoff hockey, and there's nothing like watching it in person. Why not get tickets with the best service with Game Time? Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks. It makes it getting tickets to see your favorite team even easier. Filters out the fluff, shows you the incredible deals on great seats. You don't waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time has all-in pricing, which makes it very easy. No surprise fees at checkout. They give you seat views, which tell me I can't stand when people don't have the seat view. Looking behind the back of a pillar and you don't even realize it. Game Time has it, makes it easy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Owen?
It's game time. Thank you, everybody. Let's talk about Shady
Nobody
Rays.
asked you guys.
Oh, they're just joining right in. Let's talk about Shady Rays. Lutz is a little sour because he still hasn't gotten his complimentary pair for the DLLS staff that a lot of us did, but then I bought a bunch myself because I really like them, including my aviators, which are over there, so I can't put them on. But you're talking about quality shades built to last, premium polarized lenses. They won't break the bank, but you'll still feel like you're wearing really high-end shades. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product, durable frames, crystal clear optics, and they are the perfect choice for all outdoor activities, which you need as the temperatures start to creep up here in Dallas or anywhere you happen to be listening to our show. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out the best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com, use the code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Okay, so one other thing on Robertson before we move on to some other topics getting ready for this first round matchup with the Avalanche is Emma Lingen, who does a great coverage of the Predators. She used to work for the team, now works separately for a couple other organizations. Podcaster a bit like us, had the big tweet, Jason Robertson leaving the arena in Nashville, Bridgestone, with a brace on his right knee or right leg. So it's something in there. His Lud's recreated with the bobblehead, and
right lower body,
literally a Band-Aid.
Right lower body.
And it said he was.
I'm not sure where, but it's somewhere on the right side of his body.
You've covered your bases with that.
I
I like that. We should have wrapped him in your bubble wrap.
He should have.
Appendix is
prior to the
right
game.
lower body as well. Did you know that?
Like mid body.
Yeah, call it
Depends
a
on where you
mid-body
hold
injury.
it, as Lindy Ruff famously said once.
Just if
questionable
Sam
mid-body.
says what it is, he knows all the parts of the body. Right by now,
That's true.
he should be
He
half
should
doctor.
be well versed. He's got the platinum membership over at the local
I
hospital.
have the subway card.
So that part, the part of leaving the rink on it with a brace and in a or visibly in a amount, looks like he's a considerable amount of pain. That was the report. Pair that with what we saw and heard about from Pete DeBoer, that makes me concerned, right? We'll see. Maybe tomorrow Jason Robertson's up and around and doing fine. I don't think so. It didn't look as bad as the Miro injury, which was very obvious, but we'll see. So what do you do And we don't want to overly speculate because, again, we'll wait and find out more when we do and whether or not he'll be at practice tomorrow. Team has the day off today. But what do you do if Jason Robertson can't play game one, which is a distinct possibility? How do you make up for missing your number one goal scorer this season?
It's tough. Hey, lads?
Yeah, it's tough because and what makes it difficult is that for the last few games, Mikko Rantanen's been playing on a line with Wyatt and Jamie, right? And so, but he played like how many? 5-6 games with Hintz and Robo.
A lot.
More than that.
And I don't know. Yeah, okay. So I didn't know why they took him away from that because I felt there was some chemistry coming along, unless it had something to do with a matchup thing and trying to get him away from certain people because they know that more than likely the Avs are going to make sure that he doesn't have an impact on this series somehow. So, for me, Wyatt makes sense. And now Wyatt makes sense. Now that line makes sense to have Jamie and Wyatt and Mikko there because the Duchesne line will stay intact as long as Tyler is Tyler. But then now who does that leave on an island? If that's the case, it leaves Rupe on an island. Yeah. So the other option is to put Mikko back up there with him, and then maybe you take Bork and put him with Wyatt and Jamie, and then you take Granlund and put him over on the left side.
And he can play either side. So that's
Granlund's a lefty, and Mikko likes to be on the right side apparently.
Well, you have
so that's where he's been, and he's been playing with those guys and figuring it out over there. Maybe the easiest fix is, and by putting Granlund up there, not like having Robo there, obviously, but it gives you some. He's the conscience of the group. He is a little bit more defensively responsible, so those two guys can do their thing. And so now all of a sudden you have that, especially when you're on the road. It's nice to have that kind of thing. I just think that if there's a guy besides Rupe, the next guy that can be a playmaking ability to help Rantanen out is Wyatt.
Yeah. Well, and Sam, I want to ask, this is a really good idea from Luds, and just listening to it kind of lifts my spirits a little bit. I don't know about you guys, because that's something that the Stars do boast is forward depth.
Yep.
They have a lot of it. The fact that you could possibly remove Jason Robertson, your leading goal scorer, from the lineup, put Mikko Rantanen in there. I'm kind of laughing about it, but it's true. And then, you can move up. Like you said, Bork can move up, or Dodonov can, depending on who you want on that side. Who plays, Blackwell or Beck? Both have had pluses and minuses of their game, and both have been good. So you're okay there. And that's really encouraging. But boy, does it make a huge difference that Tyler Seguin is back in the lineup, because he instantly, and he said it after the game last night, he said chemistry with, reuniting chemistry with Duchesne and Marchment wasn't a concern. And it sure showed that it wasn't a concern.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing. I think for fans and for us and everyone, number of line, first, second, third line basically doesn't matter anymore. Mm-hmm. This team is going to roll those lines, especially now if Robertson misses a game or more. Those lines are all basically your top line. But the important part that Luds was talking about is the third line center needs to be a threat, and that's why I like keeping Wyatt down there. But Owen's right. Your depth becomes obvious when you have something like this. And depth is great if you have depth and you're looking at a full list of your deep forwards. When depth becomes the most important is when you lose somebody and you see, wow, now we can put Granlund as our third line center.
It's a good line. Don't we need Sean for all this line talk? Prime Crusader. Very true.
Perfect. Or we can put Granlund up on that top line, and all of a sudden it's not like Granlund's your first choice for a top line winger. But if he's with a Hintz and Rantanen, he can do it. He's going to look good, and he's probably going to fit in well. So
when you compare Sam to the Avalanche, who we've had conversations since the trade deadline of how much more depth they've added with the moves that they made on and around March 7th. The difference, I still think, is the Colorado's going to deal with injuries in this first round series too, right? Yep. Neither of these teams are going to go unscathed. The intensity, the effort, the urgency, it's too high to not have guys get bumps and bruises, dinged up, or more severe. I'm not sure that the Avalanche have the pieces that can plug in if they lose big guys from the lineup. But that does lead me to the other half of the Tyler Seguin conversation, which is Gabe Landeskog.
Yep.
We don't know if he's going to play game one. Obviously, he played 2 games for the AHL's Colorado Eagles, and it looked really promising, just like Seguin playing last night. Who do you think has a bigger impact, Landeskog or Seguin, for his team for this series?
Well, Tyler does. Tyler has a bigger impact because if that chemistry is there, now to me, that is your number one line. And I think your other lines, I worry that Rantanen now has got to get some chemistry going with the other two guys, even though he's played a couple games there. So, but I think that Tyler Seguin, if he continues on where he is, and again, we'll see if he has any lingering, soreness and tired, whatever, from the hips going into this and going through this. Once you get into the grind, now last night wasn't a grindy game, right? That was almost like a practice for these guys. So there wasn't a lot of grinding going out, though. But it will happen in the playoffs. And again, if you're Colorado and you have Tyler Seguin that you're playing against, trust me, besides Rantanen, his name is going to be circled on the board.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's been out with 4 months, and he just came back. He's played one game. We don't care if Tyler doesn't feel good. We're going to make sure he doesn't feel good. And that's, apparently they got Manson back in the lineup. And so, and I believe he plays the right side. I think he plays the right side. He's played left side. I think Manson's on the right side, isn't he? He's on the right side.
At least.
Well, the good news is that's not the side Tyler's on generally. So that would be more Marchment. But what I'm saying is they've got guys that can make it difficult. I don't think Landeskog comes back in the first 2 games. I think it's going to be at home if he comes back. And I was saying to you my way of doing it. I would hope that the team comes in here. If I'm an Avalanche fan, I would hope the team comes in here. They get at least 1 game. They come home. They have their morning skate. They have the skate before. They have their morning skate. And Landeskog is out there skating. He's going to be here skating with these guys on the ice too. He doesn't play the 2 games. And then in that game 3, morning skate, all the reporters are watching. Landeskog stays out late. And he kind of goes through the paces, which tells you he's not going to play. And then out they come for the opening of the game. Nope. And the very last guy that steps on the ice is Landeskog. It goes nuts.
You think he'd go out in the warm-up?
Going in the warm-up is normal. I mean, that's normal. Guys go in warm-ups and they don't play when they're coming back. But
Landeskog, you think he'd go out for the warm-up to not play?
Hey, I'm just saying, that's exactly what that's what we're doing here. It's gamesmanship. It's the reason they don't tell you anything. It's the reason they don't show you anything. It's the reason Ken Hitchcock, when we were here, I told you guys this. We got to practice one day, and there was black paper all the way around the glass. Yeah, it was like you were practicing in a closet. And he was worried about, and at the time when the media wasn't even like the media.
Yeah.
Like, what are you worried about? The other team's not even in town, So, but anyway, that kind of stuff goes on because it's an important time of the year. So there's different ways you can go. But are they just going to say, we got Landy back, and that's a bump. And I think now guys coming back into the lineup, who's more important? My opinion, Landeskog is to them, because of what he's gone through and what they've seen him go through trying to get back into the lineup. This is a kind of piece that you use if he's not ready, and you want to find a spot to put him in. Maybe it's in getting you
when they need a lift,
getting that game, or getting we're going to go up 3 games to 1. We bring them back going up 3 games.
To get over the top,
that kind of a thing.
Like the
so
Stamkos
we'll see.
Lift. Well, the other side of it, I was just going to say real quick, is the Tyler Seguin to me is a bigger impact because Landeskog's been out for 3 years. They've learned how to play without him.
Yep.
Tyler,
his last game in the NHL was
the final, the last game
winning
of the
the
final.
cup.
Yeah, which is crazy.
22.
But for Tyler, Joe Pavelski leaves.
You don't have to wait.
I just wanted to see if he was looking.
That slow,
he's hammering on
he
it.
deserves to be criticized and ridiculed.
But no, so
and the finger has made its way from New England.
So he leaves, and there's a hole in the leadership group. Tyler Seguin fills that hole, right? And we talk about how Jamie Benn needs him, how this team needs him. Tyler Seguin now goes out. That hole gets even bigger. So that to me is why I feel like Sagan's bigger, because they had a hole in their leadership group, maybe 2 holes in their leadership group. Now he comes back in, whereas Colorado has learned to develop their team.
He's their captain, though, and
it's a huge
very
boost.
good point.
It's a huge boost.
It's like
getting emotional.
It would be like getting Jamie Benn back after 2 years.
Remember when Stamkos came back in that final against the Stars?
Of course.
Scored the goal, didn't play the rest of the game, but they dominated and they won the cup.
Well, just looking at this, you could argue that the top 6 versus the top 6 is going to be where it's at because, depending on how they line up, it could be Lehkonen, McKinnon, and Natchez, Drouin, Nelson, and Nichushkin. They can move things around. But it also could be, and look, they have Coyle and Drury as their 3rd and 4th line centers. They've definitely gotten better. But are you telling me that Kiviranta, Colton, Parker Kelly, Logan O'Connor, all good NHL players, are better than Jamie Benn, Wyatt Johnston, Sam Steele, Evgeny Dodonov, Maverick Bourque? I think the Stars in the bottom six can go toe-to-toe at better than, even if the top six is kind of a
they don't roll their
out.
four lines like Dallas does.
No, they use the big guys a lot.
Exactly. Like how much
so you're not going to see those guys that much. They can do it. They've done it. They've proven they can do it. I'm just saying they don't lean on their four, and maybe they won't here in Dallas. Maybe because of, well, now they almost have to because of, if Robo's out. So, well, they don't have to, but it'll be interesting to see if Pete's. I hope there are some changes. Trust me. If we don't hope that there's some kind of changes coming up,
you want some
wrong.
adjustments, don't you?
Yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Well, just to give you a quick idea of what Luds was saying, Cale Makar, no surprise, he and Devon Taves each average a ton of minutes. Makar's almost 26, 25-43, and Taves is at 24-35. But McKinnon for forwards is insane, 22-47. This is for the 79 games he played in the regular season. Rantanen averaged 22.5 for Colorado this year, and he played 49 games for them. Girard is just under 21. Natchez is at 20 minutes and 30 seconds. Lehkonen, 20-23. Nichushkin is just under 20. That's the point, Luds, as you were making up, is that those top guys are playing 20+, whereas the Stars are in the 15 to 18 range for their top forwards on purpose, by design.
You see them more. And so are you comfortable? Maybe he's going to be comfortable. Are you going to be comfortable, whether it's at home or on the road, knowing that you're going back with the Steele line and they're going to put out McKinnon line? I mean, are you comfortable with that? I mean, because that if they're going to, play an extra 4 or 5 minutes a night, then your guys are, those matchups are going to happen. Now, that being said, the one thing about that line, the Steele line, and who's ever out there, whether it's Beck, Blackwell, Dodonov, who's ever on it, they spend a lot of time in the offensive zone. I wish the other three lines would spend as much time down there and not turn pucks over at the offensive line like that line does. That line does what they're supposed to do, exactly what they're supposed to do.
We have so much to get to on the Stars and Avalanche. We'll talk more about it tomorrow when Sean's here with us. Sam will be at practice. We got to talk about the other series because we know all of them now in the East and the West, and we'll start to break them down next year on the DLS Stars Podcast.
Just like your favorite team needs a home ice advantage, your home needs a home flooring advantage, and Empire can help. Empire Today is dedicated to flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. Empire Today lives and breathes flooring, and they're with you every step of the way. It's a whole different ballgame. Get measurements taken and have all your questions answered so there are no surprises. With Empire Today, you get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. DLLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code DLLS. That's right, a $350 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit Empire Today for full details.
Thanks, Luds. I'm surprised you didn't talk about the flooring holding up to all your bombardment, but that's okay. Let's talk about Sleeper. It's the best fantasy league platform out there. You can put your puck or your ball knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. You have to keep an eye on us because why? Well, Sam's making those picks. John's going to make game one's picks on Saturday. You can follow along with us, see how you do, see if you can double your money, triple, all the way up to 100 times your money. If the more picks you combine, the more you can win. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries. Stay ahead of the game and keep track of league updates in real time so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends. If you think you have what it takes and you maybe don't like what Sam's picking or John's picking, new users can download the Sleeper app and show us how to do it by using the code DLLS Stars to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply it to any contest, doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details, currently operational in over 25 states, including Texas. Check out Sleeper today. Okay.
Nice addition.
Any last thoughts from what our last 30 minutes of conversation are? We'll talk a lot more about Stars and Avs tomorrow, and then, of course, on our pregame show on Saturday. But before we get into our picks for and discussions of the other matchups for the first round, is there anything that you have lingering that you want to get off your chest and share with our viewers and listeners? A no is okay.
I've done it for the last 82 games, so I'll give them a break today.
Okay, so you don't want to complain about defensive zone coverage and
not gonna complain about it.
The only thing I will say real quick is I wrote about this morning. I am on the fence between whether I think it's bad or good for how calm the coaching staff, the organization, the dressing room has been all year, but also for years now. And fans get upset about it. Sometimes Luds gets upset about it. I'm a big believer in sometimes you need to not make a scene, that's the wrong way to say it, but you need an outburst. You need a yelling. You need to get in someone's face to really make the players and the team understand the severity of a situation. To me, a 7-game losing streak, losing to 5 non-playoff teams, a historic collapse, that is a severe situation. And I worry a little bit deep down that they underwhelmingly are reacting to it. And as Luds just said, we hope that they change something. I'm right in between. If they go on a deep run and they feel good, I give the coaches all the credit in the world and the players all the credit in the world for not overreacting. If they don't, and they're talking about how they wish they stopped the bleeding earlier, they wish they adjusted, that's going to break my heart because we can see and we believe there's something there. I hope they see it as well.
Yeah, I think I'm torn on that because I don't know, Luds, if performative theater works as a coach as much as it used to, right? Kicking over the Gatorade cooler, throwing tables, calling people out in the press. Everything is so analytical. And look, there's conversations that happen in the room that we don't hear. And I'm sure they have very direct, hard things to say that we don't necessarily we're not privy to. But can being bombastic really be as effective with today's athlete as it is before? Especially because you remember we played the Seguin thing. I know it was hard to hear, but I went back and watched them and they said, "Can you turn this on?" And they said, "Well, we have to." Which is a great line. They have to turn it on. But what's the one thing that we've talked about over and over again? The Stars are at their best when their offense is outscoring their problems, right? Yep. Their goal scoring. Lately, they have not been scoring as much. The offense hasn't been there. The shot creation hasn't been there. Can that ignite with some confidence in a play or two? Or is it just because in a playoff series that's really tight as expected, they could simply score that time? I mean, how many times did we talk about on that 7-game winning streak, the Stars scoring against the run of play, the other team's dominating possession and chances, and all of a sudden Dallas scores twice in a minute, and you go, where did that come from? That's a weapon in a playoff series to be able to come up with a goal almost out of thin air.
We'll see if that happens.
You seem less excited about that idea.
Here's what they can control. If you don't want to play like chaos in your own end, don't spend time in your own end, which means when you get into the neutral zone, you have to make the right decisions with the puck. And for 2-3 years, they've made a lot of those decisions and they've panned out for them. Lately, it's not. So you have to make an adjustment. So if you have to put the puck in and not make that perfect pass at the blue line or thread it through 2 different players or somebody going down the far side, and risk the chance that it turns over again and ends up in the neutral zone, then it ends up in our zone. And because when they can skate back into their own defensive zone at the same pace, they're pretty good. They can shut things down. It's when the team gets into the cycle. When they get into the cycle situation, there's issues. And so, again, take the problem 100 feet away from your net, 150 feet, and put it in their end of the ice. And so territorially, if they just increase that, it takes away some of the things that happen in their own zone. I think that's the place to start. But the players have to do that. The players in their heads have to do that. And it may be difficult especially now, it'll be difficult for the Duchesne line because they're back. We're back. So, and again, there's another team over there that is doing all of their research and they're drilling down on everything. And they're going back right now. They're going back to the first 30 games of the season and they're looking what that line did. They're going to know what they're good at.
And they're going to be nervous about that line.
And I don't, okay.
You don't
think?
That's what
no, I don't think so.
not
with the players on that team.
You're saying that they shouldn't be cautious
Nelson,
about
Coyle, McKinnon, Nichushkin. I can go down the list of guys that they're going to play their way. They're going to say
they're going to do.
They're not going to be nervous. Why would they be nervous?
No, they should be cautious
What does cautious mean?
Cautious means
they don't turn pucks over at the offensive blue line.
I'm telling
they
you
put pucks in
so
the
you're
zone.
saying that one of the
We'll
best,
watch game 1 and 2.
One of the best lines in hockey over the first 20 games of the season should not be cause for concern for the Avalanche.
And when was that? Oh, that's right. That was in the regular season.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter.
Different time. It does matter. It's a different time.
Right. So you
can pump up your Dallas Stars all you want right now.
No,
I'm
you're
being
actually
realistic.
Saying it doesn't matter. So I'm asking you, you're telling me that the Stars fans should not be excited that line's reunited for the playoffs.
Of course they are.
Because you literally said Colorado's not interested.
It has nothing to do with the Colorado Avalanche. You think they're really going to worry about their back together? Come on. They're not going to worry about it. They are going to play their game. This team is going to play their game. And I just think that they have to make a little bit of a change because, hey, I hope that they can tap dance through these guys. Unfortunately, number 29 and number 8 are going to have the puck on their stick a lot, and they're going to cycle in the offensive zone. And then they're going to have number 13 that's driving to the front of the net, and he may be standing there with nobody there. That's my concern.
So let me ask you this. If you think they're so good, and I'm not saying they aren't, why didn't they win the division? Why are they not the best team in the NHL?
Well, let's see. McKinnon missed a lot of games. I think Makar missed games. I think they have a little bit of average goaltending. That's what I think.
I agree with that.
They had 2 different goalies the first half of the season.
But his goaltending...
And when they got rid of the first 2 goalies, they got a lot better.
I mean, is goaltending the only reason the Avs are... I mean, they finished, 14 points behind the Jets?
Yeah. I don't care about regular season. Have you guys learned that yet? I worry about teams that have been there, done that, know what it is, and they may have a guy coming back in the lineup that means a lot, and they have 2 guys and 3 guys. Val's a playoff player, but so is Rantanen. Rantanen's a playoff player. We know that, right? But he was a playoff player with McKinnon and Makar and Nichushkin. Unfortunately, those same guys aren't here. So we'll see. And again, where is he going to play? Maybe I'm so anxious to watch him play. I hope there's a switch that he turns on. Yeah, I mean, everything that we've talked about in this playoff stuff, I'm so anxious to watch him play, and not because I want him to turn the switch on. I do want him to turn it on, but I want to see how he plays against these guys.
Yeah.
I want to see it's tough for him. It would be tough for any player that you have that kind of success. And that's why I think that they're going to make it as difficult as they can. That is the number one thing. I think there's a 1 and a 1A. That's what I think. And I think obviously 1A and 1B, I'll say. And I think that the Duchesne line would be 1B, but making sure Rantanen doesn't control this series, that's their 1A.
Okay, so we have to predict early, just off the cuff here. Who wins the series?
Go ahead, Sam.
Sam needs a minute.
No, I know the answer.
What's your answer?
Don't want to say it.
Say it.
I think Colorado wins the series.
And if it wasn't for this last stretch, would it be the same answer?
No, a month ago, maybe not a month and a half ago, I thought Dallas would win this series in 5 or 6 games.
I agree.
Now, and when I say Colorado wins the series, I don't think it's people saying it's a sweep or 5 games. I think it's 6 or 7 games, no matter what. But it's become a coin flip to me, and I don't think that favors Dallas. I don't think
that's changed. So Lud said the regular season doesn't matter to him. And
now.
So the 7 games that they lost going in,
it would have mattered to me if they made adjustments in their zone.
But
they didn't do that. So
but we could say make that same argument. So I'm going to tell you that these are 2 really good teams, and it's a wash.
Yep.
There are things that the Stars are better at than the Avalanche. There are things that Colorado have that are advantages that the Stars don't have. I think this is a 7-game series. I'm sticking with the Stars to win in 7 because they have home ice advantage. That might change. Colorado surprisingly did not have the best home record in the NHL like they normally do. Even though the altitude's a thing, they weren't as dominant at Ball Arena as we expect. So I don't think that's as big a deal. The Stars have proven they can go there and win. They've also proven they can go there and look terrible. But those are regular season games. Guess who won a bunch of road games against the Avalanche last year in the playoffs? So for all the things that Lud says, legitimately, I'm not trying to poo-poo anything he said, Dallas also is a mostly hardened playoff-style team. Have they been playing it lately? Absolutely not. But if they can turn that switch on, which is a huge if, they've shown that they can go and win in your building repeatedly. They did that in the Avs series last year. They did it in, going to the conference finals for 2 consecutive years, going to the cup final in the bubble, which I admittedly was a weird circumstance. there are some young guys on the team, right? Bork's never gone through this. Oscar Beck hasn't gone through this. We'll see how they go. But most of this group has lots of playoff experience. But in the NHL, if you haven't won it, that's a big deal.
I haven't heard you address the defensemen for the Dallas Stars yet as a group.
No, because we have to have something to stop for and talk about tomorrow.
Oh,
Just gonna
we're
say
going to
real
talk
quick.
about defensemen.
Okay.
We're going to talk about goaltending, right? Because we talked about forwards. And maybe we should talk about the other series. But, Sam, what's your pick?
I was just going to, my pick. Oh, I said my pick.
Well, how many games? You're going Avs and what?
7.
Avs and 7?
I'll say 6.
Avs and 6. I'll go Stars and 7. We'll talk about the rest of the playoffs next here on DLLS. All right, if that didn't get you all wound up, let's talk to you about being a diehard. You need to sign up today because we have a great NFL draft deal. It's a week away. The first round of the NFL draft is next Thursday. And so to celebrate that, DLS is offering a $36 first-year new subscribers for the diehard program. Scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen. What do you get? Lots of things, including a free t-shirt. You can have this DLS Stars Texas logoed one. You can go with one of the Rangers ones that Sam is wearing, although you can't see it at the moment. He's got the gum chew one, the bubblegum one. How about the playoff shirts for the Stars? We've got the Moose for Mikko Rantanen, Jamie Benn, the captain with a couple N's. And yes, we know he doesn't really wear a visor, but still looks a very cool looking shirt. You get that for free if you pick that one. You can pick any of the shirts as part of your DLS Diehard membership. Sam, you have a new article on the site today?
Yes.
You want to share about it while we do our read?
Yes.
Yeah.
I talked about it before. A lot of it is about, I talked about Jason Robertson and my thoughts on that, Miro Heiskanen and Tyler Seguin, and the overall feeling around this team and what my worries are. That is available on the site, and it was free for a little bit. We'll be behind the paywall soon, so check it out.
So you should do that. And of course, we have all sorts of wonderful things that we do, whether it's covering the Stars, the Mavs, the Rangers, Cowboys. Don't forget about them. Kind of a big deal coming up with the draft next week. And of course, everything else, including merchandise. You get 20% off on that. Events, lots of events going on. And before I forget, we have, Sam, you have not signed up yet. And shame on you.
For what?
Diehard Discord channel, which you can only access our Discord lounge if you're a diehard. We are doing an NHL Stanley Cup playoff bracket.
It's because I came in last in the
We have a
Four.
DLLS playoff bracket league. You can access the information in the Discord.
Bing
All
bong.
right. Super chat.
Get
Stars
it.
25 Cup year with a DeSmith 99. Are we doing an NHL playoff bracket contest? Well, funny you should mention that. Yes, we are. So if you're a diehard, you go to the Discord channel and you can reach out to, I think Ben Selheim is the one that's in charge. But if you don't know, just ask, hey,
comments?
are we doing a bracket?
I'm
And they'll
trying
get
to
you
figure
the
out how to do
login
it.
and password. But you have to be a diehard to compete. And so far, it looks like we've got about a dozen or so people in the playoff bracket challenge. So make your picks. All right, John, do you have that? Look, here we go, guys. Here's the matchup set for the 2025 Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's start in the West because we were already there with the Stars and the Avs. Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues starting on Saturday. The early game, they get a 5 o'clock Central Time start. That would have been nice, but that's
beautiful.
okay.
I thought that's what they were going to
I was hoping, but they're going to do the Winnipeg-St. Louis game first. I think the Winnipeg Jets are going to demolish the Blues. Am I wrong?
I don't think they're going to demolish them, but they're going to win the series.
Yeah, I think that.
I got Blues in
6.
5. I have Jets in 5.
Yeah, I would say they get 6, only because St.
Gentleman's sweep.
Louis has done a pretty good job of building up a team. They won 12 games in a row. They figured out a way to play a little bit better. I don't disagree. They're not matched up at all, and I think Hellebuck's going to be a difference. But I think they get 2 wins.
Buds?
Well, Hellebuck is 3-6 in games 5, 6, and 7s that he's played in. He hasn't won. He's only won 3 of 9 games. Binnington is just the opposite. Binnington has got a great record when it goes in 5, 6, and 7. So that's why I think it's going to go a little bit longer. I mean, Winnipeg. I do believe Winnipeg's the best team in the league. You know, everybody can argue about Washington and a couple other teams, but I mean, Winnipeg's been there from beginning to end. So
and they have the best goalie in the league.
And they've got the best goalie in the league, but more importantly, they play so well in front of him. Now, I think Ehlers is out, Velarde. So they may be missing a couple pieces, but even still, the way that they play, and especially we pointed out every time they play it, you watch them come back into their own zone through the neutral zone.
Yeah.
You see 5 guys in the picture all the time. It's the reason Hellebuck is good. I mean, it's probably a reason why he may not win a Hart Trophy, is because the team in front of him is so good. I don't know, but regardless, I would say Winnipeg for sure.
The Pacific starts on Sunday with a very late game. Of course, it is in Vegas, 9:00 Central Time. Golden Knights hosting the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota had to wait till their last game of the regular season to get in, but they did so, and they avoided the second wild card spot. So instead of playing Winnipeg, they play the Golden Knights.
Doesn't matter.
Does Minnesota have a shot in this one, guys?
No. Minnesota has been imploding for the last second half of the season, barely limped into the playoffs. I think they...
but you're forgetting 2 important pieces.
Oh, I know. But I still...
Kirill Kaprizov and
believe
Yul Eriksson-Ek, they are healthy Luds. We saw that in their last game for the first time, and it feels like in months. And you mentioned the Hart Trophy a moment ago. Kaprizov was on the fast track to being maybe the favorite. Can that be a difference maker against the Vegas Golden Knights, a very good team?
I don't think so. I think it's 5 games. That's what I think. I think they come back and they win it at home. Vegas does. I think Minnie will get a game.
Yeah.
And I hope it goes 7. But I don't see them beating Vegas. I mean,
I agree.
Vegas is better.
I think Vegas will win in
than they were.
6, but I think that Minnesota, with Kaprizov back and healthy, is going to give them more issues than they realize. They're not a fancy, flashy team, but they can work hard, and they do.
Fleury's got to prank some former teammates.
Well, sure, but it's Gustafson's had the year. And then the last one in the Pacific is the LA Kings against the Edmonton Oilers. And I don't know what to make of the Oilers right now, as far as the players they have, the health or lack of health, where they're at. They don't play until Monday. Their first game will be in Los Angeles, Monday the 21st. That's probably due to the Lakers' schedule a bit, because they had to work around the NBA out there at Crypto.com Arena. The Kings have the best home record in the NHL this year. We've talked about that a bunch. They finished the season with a lot of home games, got their way from, at one point, a wild card team into second in the Pacific. I think they are going to... There are probably some Oilers fans that think that, the team that went to Game 7 of the Cup final can do that again. I think the Kings are going to beat them in the first round.
Kings are winning this series. I mean, Ekholm, they brought Ekholm in to be that guy that can clean things up in Edmonton in the backside. He's out. You don't know. Huge. McDavid looked really good the other night, so you don't know how healthy. And nobody's healthy, but I just think with the structure that LA has and the way that they play in all 3 zones, I just think they're going to be tough to beat. And their goaltenders, he plays well in that structure. He played well with Colorado and what they did too. But I think this is LA. And again, we've seen Connor McDavid put a team on his shoulders, but I just think that, Doughty's back and Ekholm's out. I think it makes a difference.
Yeah, I think the structure, Philip Deneau, Kempe, Fiala, the way they play defensively, their sticks in lanes can be, it's not going to keep McDavid and Draisaitl at bay. You can't do that, but it'll quiet them enough, and that home record and goaltending will be the difference.
Okay, so that's the Western Conference. We got through the first round. You guys have a consensus of Winnipeg and Colorado. I went rogue and said I think Dallas, which is surprising because it wasn't that long ago we were all picking Dallas to win it all.
To win the cup.
So Winnipeg, in your minds, Colorado. We agree with
the New York Rangers,
Vegas, and LA. We're going to get to that tomorrow, guys. Don't spoil all the fun. We're going to revisit those picks.
Oh, can't wait.
With Sean.
Let's go Nashville.
Who makes it to the conference final between Winnipeg, Colorado / Dallas, or Vegas and LA?
I believe Winnipeg. Just either way, if they're playing Dallas or Colorado, and I think it's Vegas.
Luds?
What's the question?
Who gets through the second round?
You have.
Hey,
are we staying on this side?
We're still doing the show
Colorado.
for another few minutes.
You had Winnipeg, Colorado.
We are. We still got time.
He's going to finish his chicks. It's hard.
We lost him already.
It's hard not to go with Winnipeg. I just think they're the best team in the league, and again, offense wins games and defense wins championships. And
they don't feel fake, right?
Huh?
They don't feel fake.
No,
so many teams we've seen, like Washington, to me, doesn't feel like a real
and they don't
contender.
roll over teams. They just kind of smother you, and they almost look like they make the game disinterested for the opponent because they can't get anything done and they can't get a second chance in front of their net. And when they do get a good chance, the goaltender, somehow stops it. So, but you know how many times that the number one team going in doesn't win? So,
Often.
I think if you're, if they make it through and it's whoever they play in the second round, Winnipeg comes out on top.
A lot of Eastern Conference teams playing tonight to wrap up their regular seasons because they're already locked in. I'm sure there's going to be a fair amount of healthy scratches or guys taking it easy. But here we go. Sunday, Toronto Maple Leafs, Ottawa Senators. This is a great matchup. It's exciting. I'm so glad that Ottawa's back in because they've gone through some hard times. It would have been fun to see Columbus sneak in there, but here's what it is. And, of course, Montreal as well. We'll get to them in a minute. Brady Tkachuk back skating on the ice today, guys. He is the X factor. Is there any chance Ottawa beats Toronto in this series?
They beat them 3 times in the regular season. They played them 3 times, and they beat them all 3 times. But the answer is no.
I was going to say that doesn't matter to you, does it?
No, it doesn't matter. I just think they're going to give them. I think they're going to give them a series, and I think the benefactor of Toronto coming out on top in this series is whoever plays them in the second round.
Do you think they're going to soften them up a little bit?
Oh yeah. The biggest key I think in the whole thing, and you just mentioned the guy, can he keep his cool? Because he can't sit in the penalty box.
No,
he can't. He can't put. They got 4 guys that can put the puck in the net for Toronto. He has to play. He literally has to play on the edge without crossing it.
It's funny you said that because Toronto, Florida, Tampa were all trying to get away from that 2-3 matchup so they wouldn't be beat up.
Yeah.
And then they get Ottawa, and it's like, you might be more beat up.
Yeah.
I think Ottawa beats Toronto in 7 games.
Really?
I wouldn't.
I would love to see
only
it.
because
that.
I think Ottawa is the perfect team for the playoffs. Tkachuk is going to be a beast. They have so many people that just piss you off.
But you know what the difference is?
They're susceptible. Toronto's susceptible.
But the difference this year is Berube. They've played 82 games to figure out how to play in the playoffs, and their best players have played that way. Marner never got a lot of credit for playing. Marner's a good defensive player.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was up for a Selke once or twice, but I think the rest of those guys have bought into it, and I think this is where it pays off is when they get into the playoffs. So, but I do think it's going to be. I think it's going to be if Ottawa can get under their skin and throw a couple of them guys off, then and obviously Tkachuk is the one guy to do it. But then you worry about. All of a sudden what's going to happen is now Toronto comes out and they score a power play goal. Then they score another power play goal, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we can't play that way. Yeah. So see how long that lasts.
I'm going to avoid digressing into just imagining how chaotic it would be if Toronto loses to Ottawa in this series and what the reaction
not here.
would be
You mean
there.
in Toronto?
That's what I mean. Not here.
It's like
Toronto.
that every year.
Battle of Ontario.
So
they're used to it.
The other side of that Atlantic division is Tampa and Florida. Tampa gets the home ice advantage. They'll host the first game on Tuesday. They don't play till Tuesday, their first game. And then it's every other day. So Stars and Avs get a couple of 2-day breaks in there. Because they're starting so late, that's the trade-off for Tampa and Florida is they play every other day for less than 2 weeks. Yeah, 22, 22nd, 24th, 26th, 28th, 30th, 2nd, 4th. Wow. No extra days off for them. That's going to be an absolute war.
Tampa.
Same? So the defending champs are out.
Only because I think Florida has started to look a little tired. They have some guys who've battled injuries, Tkachuk being one of them. I think they've run out of gas enough that they can't get through a very, very good Tampa team with a very good goalie.
Florida doesn't have a Kucherov. Florida doesn't have a point.
How good is Hagel?
I don't think Bob is as good as Vasilevsky, and I think Hedman's back to being Hedman.
Yep.
I don't know. I just think that they're.
It certainly seems like Tampa's dialed in, but Florida is the toughest, most physical team. They have the puck and they also hit.
Brad Marchand.
It's going to be interesting to see how they play out that. Washington, number 1 team in the East, plays against the Montreal Canadiens, who are thrilled to be there. Luds, I agree with Sam that I'm not sure if I see it for Washington, but we've been saying that all year, and they keep winning games.
Yeah, and they weren't good coming. It's funny, all the teams that you think they're going to be, knocking on the door of the finals haven't been playing that well coming down the stretch. So I just think there's too many bullets in Washington's guns. And Montreal, it's a great story. And I think I said this before. I think the playoffs are better when Toronto and Montreal and Edmonton. I think it's a better playoffs when those teams are in. But I think they don't have as much ammo. Maybe the Demidov dude, man. Maybe he does some crazy stuff, but I just think that there's a little too much for him.
We don't need 30 seconds. Devils and Carolina. Hurricanes and
Carolina.
New Jersey.
We're
all picking Carolina, right?
Sam, you going with New Jersey?
Yes. No. I don't even know if they win again.
All right, 15 seconds. Who comes out of the East?
Tampa.
Yeah. I think Tampa.
Think so too, but maybe Florida. Whoever wins that series, I think, is going to be
Yeah.
the front runner. All right, that's enough for today. Sean will be here tomorrow with all of us. Sam at practice. For John, so long. Thanks for joining us today.
Tomahawk City.
We all silly like the mayor.